So today's theme, we're talking about the silence of men and how it reinforces patriarchy. Being a man, I feel like I can maybe add something to the collective consciousness. So the silence of men and how it reinforces patriarchy. So let's start with a little story time, right? A little story time. I'm gonna start with when I had first came to college, my freshman year. So previously, all of high school, I played 4 years of football and I did some wrestling, maybe 2 years. I missed 1 year because of COVID and an injury, but anyways, I did 4 years of football. So I got to college and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be a football player. I'm gonna try out no matter what because I had emailed so many teams, but because of my injury, it got a little hard. So yeah, I said I'm gonna manage a football team, which I did, and I said I'm gonna try out. Boom, boom, boom. So I'm there. I'm part of the team, and this is a D1 school. So there, I was there on a big trip. I'm recording videos, all of the big things. I'm sitting with the group for lunchtime and stuff. And I usually didn't talk much, but this time I decided to talk. We was all in the dining hall. He was like, "Yo, bro, I see you be recording and stuff. How you doing?" I said, "I'm cool, bro." And we got into just a conversation. Barely got into the conversation. He said, "So, bro, how many girls you cracked since you've been here?" And I said, "Excuse me," because at that point I didn't really understand all the terminology. But cracked is like you could kind of assume. He was like, like intercourse, like how much girls you been with since we got here. Like I know we got some baddies, and I don't know. It kind of just caught me a little bit off guard because I don't start my conversations like that. I don't, you know, for me, I'm just not that type of guy. For me, and also at that point, I was within a relationship for like a year plus, so it's just like that world is just so it was just so foreign to me at the time. But I just kind of laughed it off and was like, nah, man, that's not me. Anyways, how this ties into the topic, I just wanted to give y'all a little something, something. How this ties into the topic, the silence of men and how it reinforces patriarchy. I feel like it doesn't really, when we're silent, we don't really reveal patriarchal ideas that have maybe been normalized within our conversations, normalized within our culture, what we think is okay, right? Women don't even get a chance. If we being real, women do not get a chance to decide on whether or not they really like men because they don't know who men are, right? When you choose to be nonchalant, right? That's the cool thing. When you choose to be too cool for school, silence, you don't really portray or describe how you truly feel about women. A lot of, if we're talking about heterosexual relationships, a lot of men might like being with women, but they don't necessarily like women, if you get what I'm saying. I'm not trying to hint at anything, but I'm more so saying a lot of men, they choose not to speak, or a lot of men can choose not to speak up or stay silent because maybe within their relationship, they're afraid of scaring off the woman that they're with. They're afraid of scaring off any woman, so they don't post. When we're talking, they always repost, things that are common. If we're talking about domestic violence and all those things, they might repost that. But they don't really say exactly how they feel in fear of maybe scaring off women. But we need to see how this reinforces patriarchy. We don't really define what's right and what's not right within conversation and culture. I feel like, especially within this generation, it's either, people are scared of getting canceled or being rejected, right? Of being, just pushed off to the side. But we need to be able to correct these things, not just laugh them off. And I think it all stems from like a sociological issue. We look at the evolution of man through life, right? We are kind of built, it's within our body to be more geared towards how to say it's to be more geared towards a tribe. That's how we know how to survive. So even within school, you might look for your friend, you might look for this group, you might look for this clique because you want to be involved, you want to be included, right? But we need to move away from the fear of maybe isolation, from saying things that are maybe a little bit outside of the norm, saying things that are maybe they might be a bit disruptive, right? So this is a question for not only men but women as well, everybody. How many of us are able to confidently check their friends when they are wrong and really hold them accountable? And for men, how well do you check, your male friends? How well do you check your male friends when they are wrong, and how well do you hold them accountable when they say things that are, how to say, within the context of patriarchal structures that reinforce these things? Like if we're talking about, just sex, how we see women, how we kind of center romantic relationships, but in a odd way that doesn't really give freedom per se by, you not seeing who you messing with, what you messing with, and this, that, and the third. Or maybe you might be upfront with them, but you're not trying to develop yourself spiritually to be centered, right? Um, Also, what about your parents? What about your father figures? What about your uncle? Changing what's right and what's not right. What has been conditioned into maybe their generation and maybe into your normalization and how you exist in different conversations, right? So now I kind of wanted to get into the spiritual aspect of it, right? There's a spiritual aspect of it. The original Ankh, well, the original cross is the Ankh, right? We talk about masculine and feminine energies. The original Ankh, it was like a line here and then a circle. If you look it up, ANKH, you'll see what it is. But it more so, it is describing the masculine and feminine energies working in unison. With being within a Western culture, we kind of moved away from that a little bit. We don't really understand that we need both. Bell Hooks said in her book Communion that love cannot exist with domination. With domination, there is no love. So, what energies, what frequencies are we putting out into the collective consciousness by reinforcing patriarchy either with our words or with our silence, right? So, and I feel like just as men, as women, whatever the case may be, we work better together, right? We cannot be too masculine, too much to a deadline, too much strict and just very rigid. And it's not good to be too much in flow and not really have a organized state of getting things done. So we work better when we are doing things together. So how can we deconstruct patriarchy and just make things more equitable for both parties? For men on the emotional aspect and for women in the material aspect, because if you look at Korea, if you look at Japan, and just if you look at even the world right now, women are not getting paid the same amount as men. They aren't being treated fairly in different aspects, different realms. But I would save a lot of what I want to talk about in that sector for another podcast, right? So, yeah, just recognize how your silence reinforces patriarchy, regardless of if you are an explicit supporter, regardless of if you say things out loud or not. The same way I would call white people racist, you know what I'm saying? If they still benefit from institutions that have oppressed others, you might be a racist. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to call me the N-word to be a racist. You could just simply benefit off of the free labor that has been passed down and just built into your institutions, how well you're able to progress in the media, in jobs, how people see you, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's just about what have you done to recognize your class, and if we're talking about patriarchy, your privilege, being a man, being a male, right? So now I'm down to the last part of this podcast, which is just a call to action. Everybody listening, everyone, everywhere, have the uncomfortable conversation. Be the change that you want to see within patriarchal structures. We might say, hey, I hate patriarchy, I hate capitalism, I hate the president, I hate, the king, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but be the change that you want to see. Have that uncomfortable conversation. It doesn't say you got to bash somebody, cancel them, say, hey, that's not right. Slow it down. A lot of people are kind of imprisoned to their ignorance, right? So it's just about making people aware, right? Talk to your dad, talk to your friend, talk to your uncle, talk to your coworker, your closest friend, even if it's just a little smudge saying, hey, I don't like that. I truthfully don't like what you're saying and it hurts me. Be honest. Conflict can be a ladder. It can lead to a deeper connection, and it could lead, if you really love somebody, you will help them spiritually evolve. You don't help somebody spiritually evolve by withholding information from them on how they can improve or be a better human in society, in the collective consciousness. This is not to control them, but more so give them some food for thought. My next call to action would be just limit the spaces for that culture to exist, which is just by, just speaking up. You feel me? Hence the name of this podcast, Your Ears Are Arts. What are you consuming? The people that you have around you, the people might say you are your company. The people that you have around you, are they adding to the positive frequencies to who you want to be in the future, to the potential of who you can be in the future? Or are they kind of keeping you boxed in one state of mind, right? And also trust them too. Your ears are art, and also their ears are art as well. Trust them to evolve with changed perspectives, with changed actions. And if not, that simply might not be someone that you want to consistently be around with. You are your company. So take stake in those decisions. So yeah, I'm gonna end it right here. Get out there, be the change that you want to see in terms of announcements. I don't know. I always want to end with announcements based on if I see something in the world, but I'm not too in social media right now. So all the announcements I have is just stream my EP, my album, my art project, whatever you want to call it. It's called Closure under Selah Amara Soul. And yeah, it's been real. Thank you for tuning in. And then until then, outro. Be safe. Love on yourself. Remember, you are what you eat. You are what you consume. Hence the title, Your Ears Are Art. Use your mind as a canvas. Let the type of energies you want in your life to flow through you. Become one with it with your intentionality. Okay? All right.